More Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer, a CIA-trained intelligence operative. He has been in contact with his sources in law enforcement, and former LAP detective and Fox News contributor Mark Fuhrman. Gentlemen, good evening. You have been with us throughout this process, and today, as I said, there are a number of other layers that we are peeling back here to tell this story. Tony, what's the latest that you're hearing?
Well, look, the patterns we've been talking about, Martha, are now emerging. Remember, we started this this journey 3 days ago now, and what we've been talking about something larger probably being there is emerging. This is like a singularity, like a black hole. You can't necessarily see what's inside, but we can sure see what's going on around it. There's some clues here the sheriff has put out there, which I think we had to pay very close attention to. First, the radicalization statement. 2 days ago, he made the statement during the press conference, a spontaneous utterance about this issue. That's not been resolved or addressed. Secondly, they announced a global investigation now ongoing for people who may have been involved and helped him. That talks about a network. That means there's something, either a criminal network or a terror network, but there's something else there. And third, to the other point of the fact now that they've clearly said there's evidence, and they know more than they're saying for obvious reasons. They don't want to give away any leads they're trying to work. Other people were probably involved, at least helping him, possibly even in the room that night. And we just don't know what happened because it took SWAT an hour from the initial notification to break that door down. A lot of things can happen in that hour of missing time. Absolutely.
And Mark, the suggestion that he had some kind of plan to get away, we looked at this from the beginning as, just a horrific suicide plot, what would ultimately end in a suicide plot. But now there's evidence that he wanted to get away, and you have to wonder about the $100,000 he sent to the Philippines, whether or not that was money that he was sending ahead, and that was where he was headed. The sheriff, Lombardo, said that there was, it would have been sort of a Superman type move, the way that he had it rigged to get out of there. What do you make of all that?
Well, we really have to go back to the homicide scene itself, where the detectives are, and you kind of look at this scene, and they have to actually isolate themselves to actually concentrate on this. Quite possibly, he might have had a getaway bag, a bag with ammo, a handgun, some money close to a door, someplace close to an exit. That could have been an indication that he was going to try to get away. But when you look at this scene, 23 firearms, 12 assault rifles, 12 bump fire stocks, all this ammunition, by himself, could it be possible? Absolutely. Did they find some kind of unknown fingerprints, DNA, or trace evidence on some of the rifles or someplace in the room that he had contact with that they can't identify? Quite possibly. The detectives are working the scene inside while other detectives are working the outside scene and all the follow-up. So the sheriff is probably concentrating on answering some of the questions with the suspicions that are coming out from the nucleus of this investigation, not the periphery.
Yeah, and we know now, Tony, that he sends the girlfriend to the Philippines, and there's some other woman that he is spending time with at the gambling tables. I mean, there are few places in the world where there are more cameras than in a casino.
Precisely.
So, there's no way that this woman wasn't picked up on a number of those cameras, right?
I'm very anxious to see that very footage as well as him moving things around. I mean, he's not a physical specimen. He's not Mr. Atlas. He very likely had someone moving stuff around. And like Mark said, you're talking about dozens of weapons. These things are not light, especially when they're actually, full of a load of ammunition. So we have to understand, and I do hope, because if not soon, you're going to have other people filling that space, that information space. I hope they release this tape showing all the things we're talking about. And most importantly, the information I have is that there was some tape of this guy in the room itself, which talks to the motivation issue, which, again, I think people are very anxious to find out what exactly his motivation was for doing this. And let me hit that real quick. Very clearly, we talked about 3 days ago, the first day we were together, Martha, about the fact that this target was selected. He very clearly went about very detailed target selection to pick this venue after all the places he could have gone to do that.
Yeah. Mark, before we go, just the explosives in the car. There was a lot of money in the car as well, and you talk about a getaway plan. But, does that fit any sort of indication of somebody who wants to, go out in this horrific blaze and then kill themselves?
Well, certainly it does, but it can also work the other way. He could have made multiple reservations looking for the greatest opportunity, having fallback plans in 2 other places. He could have also attempted to do something with the car and a car bomb before and not really had the opportunity or the knowledge or actually the positioning of the vehicle. So he abandoned that idea, and then he went to the hotel room and started bringing in the weapons over a 2-3 day period.
Tony, before we go, are we going to figure out what happened here, do you think?
Look, I think all the pieces are there. I think there's reasons why law enforcement's hanging back. As Mark talked about, they're focusing on the nucleus. You've got the FBI and other intelligence agencies looking overseas. This is not over yet. There's a lot of pieces out there that need to be cleared up.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, thank you as always.